Welcome back to the RedHawk Hoops Report Season 2. We are back. Luke West Poley, Coach Glenn Box. Coach, little over 20 years, if I'm counting right, in the coaching business for you. What's it like this final week before you start to get playing games and managing that excitement?
Well, it's a good thing, you still have a little nervousness, some anxiety, going into it. And it's been way more than 20 years. So it's been a while. I've been at this for a while now. And so, but it all feels the same. Those competitive juices are flowing and you're just ready to play somebody in real time, real action.
Guys, head down to Coastal Carolina for the first leg of the Max Sunbelt Challenge, which, of course, will get finished up in Oxford a little bit later in the year. Some
Mhm.
new faces for this team and some faces that have been pretty successful at other stops already. If Red Hawk fans are kind of picking through this roster, in your eyes, what do you think is a strength of maybe this year's team that maybe was something you tried to address out of the portal?
I think for the most part, I feel like we have more depth. We have more proven kids. Kids who have done it at this level and who have competed, at a pretty good level and played pretty good teams. And from a physical standpoint, I feel like we're physically mature. I feel like we stack up with a lot of people, and so we can go into games and not really be outsized. And so we have a chance to be pretty good. I think we have a mature bunch, which is what you need, going through the season. So, really look forward to these kids and seeing what we're about.
We saw some pretty good flashes from your couple of freshmen last year that are coming
Mhm.
back. So, in your eyes, how have Tamar's and Ilsa's games changed over the last few months in the offseason?
I think Tamar has a better understanding of who she is right now as a player, which has really, I think, uplifted her game. I think that, she just simply more reps, you're getting older as a player. You're just going to become more savvy. You're going to become more mature as a player. And I expect her to really take a step. And Ilsa's so much more physically stronger. I feel like she has better body control than she had like last year. And from a basketball IQ, I feel like her game has really matured mentally, and so I think the game is slower for her. I think she's a better all-around player offensively and defensively, really, for that matter. And so, and obviously not just those two, but Amber. I'm sure you're going to talk about Amber. I think Amber, has a chance to have a special kind of year. She's just, her physical strength, she's just gotten so much stronger and she has such great will and determination. And then you combine that with just her game growing and developing and being better in certain moments on the floor. And then Nudia is a better player. She's just more polished, finishing better at the rim, making shots now. And so I think she's arguably one of the better defenders in our league. She can guard, 1 through 4 for the most part. And, I'm super happy that she's here and she's grown with us.
A little bit of an older team, at least in the sense that you've got a good amount of players now that have played a lot of college games compared to, your first couple of years here. What does that do for you as a coach? And how is that maybe different for having players that have played a lot of games, but it's come from outside your program?
And not that we don't have to coach and not that we don't have to coach hard, but with this mature group, I feel like we don't have to coach as much, right? I feel like you don't have to coach every little thing. I think from the biggest thing is the competition piece. I feel like our kids they're a lot closer to truly understanding how hard they have to compete to have success. And I think our transfers who have come in, they've really embraced what it is that we're trying to do here, and they understand our standard and our expectation, and so they've met the challenge.
You have a ton of scorers on this team, and we talked about this at the presser a little bit earlier. in the week, but what's it like maybe taking some of those scores, especially from outside of the program, and really drilling into them, the kind of trademark intensity on the defensive side that we've come to know from this team?
Well, they know before they come here what about that piece, so they're not in shock or in awe, you know. Good teams are balanced. You know, if you want to win, you got to be balanced. You know, you have to be a complete player, and in order to do that and grow defensively, you have to be willing to be coachable. I feel like we have kids who are willing to be coachable, and we've brought in the right type of temperament kids. We brought in the right type of maturity that will allow them to continue to grow and be better players. You know, it's easy for kids who are a little more accomplished to come into a new situation and be like, well, this isn't how I did it at my previous year. But we really don't deal with that. You know, we have kids that know and understand that, they have to get better in order for us to have the success that we're searching for. So.
Talk about this schedule a little bit because it gets pretty tough as you wear along in non-conference play. And I understand that the current landscape of the game makes things a little difficult sometimes on good mid-major programs to schedule. So just what was it like putting this together and eventually finding so many good teams that you could put on the schedule for this year?
Well, the schedule we're hoping prepares us for conference. Obviously, it's very difficult, but we had 5 drops in the spring, and that I keep hearing about our guys having a hard time. We literally had 5 teams drop us, and so for budgetary reasons, it didn't make sense to go super far and play these good mid majors on the road. If we're going to play somebody, we may as well play some P4s and prepare us, and we're using some of that, what we've earned to play in the Virgin Islands and to play against even more competition and to be able to give our kids an opportunity to have a great cultural experience and all this, hopefully at the end of the day will prepare us for conference play, which is going to be really difficult. Our non-conference home games, Division One home games are against Wisconsin Green Bay, who's proven every year. They're usually 28, 30 wins every year and win their league, it seems, every year. And then you talk about Western Kentucky, who's had our number in the last 2 years. So stiff competition, but, I think we have the kids that can handle it.
What do you know about Coastal Carolina?
I know they want to play with, they play a phonetic style. I know that they want to, they want to press. They want to give different looks with their pressure. They want to play fast. They want to make it messy. And so usually they do. And I expect them to be a good ball club. They have some older kids and very much like us, kids who have proven themselves in the past. And I think that they're going to be a good basketball club.
Miami opens up the season at 6 o'clock on Monday night, opening day in college basketball against Coastal Carolina down in Conway. And then they come back home for the home opener later that week, part of a doubleheader, 5 o'clock start against Cedarville on Friday at Millett Hall. Coach, good talk. Appreciate it. Best of luck this week.
I appreciate you, my man. You take care, Luke.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.